delivery dates of a $1,400 fourth stimulus check specifically focused on Social Security, including retirement, disability, SSDI, survivors, SSI, VA, RRB, low income, no income, seniors, older adults, and of course, people with disabilities. I have all the details and what you need to know right here in the video, so let's get right into it. All right, now in this video, I want to address some of the concerns and the questions I've been seeing for a very long time now, right here in the community, including, will there be a fourth stimulus check? If so, how much is it going to be? How soon will they get it to us? And who is going to be included? All of which are very important and great questions, which I want to focus on here in the video, as I completely understand information is changing literally every single day, and I want to keep you posted with what is actually going on, so let's get into it and discuss all the details. However, really fast before we do, thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here or if you haven't done so yet, please make sure to subscribe by hitting the button right down below the video, as it's totally free to do so, and because I am your one and only daily advocate, I'm here for you right by your side every single day, watching all this new information, hitting the wire. I'm doing all the research and breaking it all down into these short videos so you can stay posted with what's actually going on right now, and most importantly, what's out there for you to grab and or take advantage of as a low income or fixed income beneficiary, including money, benefits, raises to benefits, checks, programs, stimulus, and most importantly, again, how it's going to impact you, your money, your benefits, your lifestyle, your bank account. And of course, I'm always watching all these new announcements and everything coming out of Congress, the lawmakers, the administration, and everything going on, as it's a very busy time. So again, thanks so much for joining me. Please subscribe down below if you haven't done so yet, and I'll be here for you every single day. That's my dedication, that's my commitment, and as always, I'm sticking to it. So let's get into it and talk about, like I said, those very important questions that I mentioned just a few seconds ago, as well as discussing some of the questions I've also seen, which is, when are we going to get it? In the event that they were to approve another stimulus check, how quickly could we get it into our possession? And that's a good question as well, because realistically, we know that over the last few years here, with the 3 stimulus checks that they've distributed and all the stimulus checks on the state level, as well as all of these guaranteed basic income programs, universal basic income programs, and all of these other distributions of payments, including the child tax credit payments, basically all of that was just refining the process to get money out into the bank accounts of people very quickly. Does it seem a little bit interesting how all of these programs popped up kind of at the same time, and it was almost like a practice round to see how quickly can we get the money out to the people? Did you ever notice that? Every single time that they came up with a new stimulus check, a new program, something like that, it was almost like a contest to see how quickly that money could be sent out into the bank accounts of the people. Again, I'm going to talk about that more in just a second, because kind of interesting. It's almost like they're trying to refine the process of getting this money out to people as quickly as possible. So again, more on that in just a second. All right, so let's quickly work our way through these questions one at a time here. I don't want to go into a ton of detail on each individual one, just because it's going to be all coming full circle here in just a second. And again, I don't want this video to last forever, but let's kind of hit on each of these questions. First off, will there be another stimulus check? That's a great question. As of right now, a 4th stimulus check has not been approved yet. But, as I mentioned in previous videos, the best thing that we need to watch right now is, number 1, the economy. Number 2, the Federal Reserve. Number 3, inflation and interest rates. And of course, everything else going on with the economy, the lawmakers, the new Congress, the administration, everything like this. All of this is going to indicate the likelihood of another check, because it's very important. However, when it comes down to it, we've got to watch the economy. And of course, we need to watch the jobs as well, right? What's the unemployment rate doing? What are jobs doing as far as are jobs being created or being lost? All of this is very important when it comes down to more money for the low income, the fixed income, and virtually everybody, right? So we've got to watch all these factors very closely, and we already know the economy is starting to contract pretty aggressively already. There's tons and tons of large corporations, medium corporations, and small businesses that are laying off a lot of people right now. So it's almost on a daily basis that I'm seeing headlines out there, the next big corporation laying off thousands of people, okay? This is a big deal out there right now, especially some of these big tech firms out there laying off thousands and thousands of people, and those are just the big ones that we're hearing about, right? So anyway, more on that later. I can always make dedicated videos talking about that as well. Next, in the event of another stimulus check, how much would it be? Well, That's a really good question as well. It all really comes down to where's the economy sitting? How much stimulus does it need? Now remember, I've mentioned this before, and this is the reality of the situation. When they determine to send out stimulus checks, do they look at our situation and say, the people need $1,400? No, that's not what they look at. They look at what does the economy need, okay? They look at it as in, how much stimulus does the economy need right now? Does it need 100 billion? Does it need 200 billion? Does it need 400 billion? What does the economy need in the form of stimulus? And then they appropriately calculate out to see how much those stimulus checks should be for the people, and that's how much we get. Remember, I want to say this again. When they send out stimulus checks, is it because they're concerned about us? No, realistically, it is not because of that. It is because they want us. They want to use us as the proxy to get money into the economy very quickly, okay? And they give that money to us because they know we're going to spend it right away, okay? So just being real with you, that is the whole idea behind stimulus. But again, if they want to send me a check and tell me to spend it, by all means, please send me a check. I'd be glad to spend it. No problem there, right? And I think all of you here in the community would probably feel the exact same way. By all means, send me a check. No problem. I'll spend it. No problem at all. Send me 2. You know what I mean? So send me 3. I have no problem spending it. You know what I mean? So that is the whole idea. And that's what they want with stimulus checks, is it to be spent. They don't want it saved. They don't want it hoarded. They don't want it invested. They want it spent. That's why it's called a stimulus check, to stimulate the economy. Anyway, I don't want to get off on a rant there talking about that one. All right, so next, in the event of another check, who would be included? Great question. Who would be included? Again, it totally depends on how much stimulus the economy really needs. Now remember, with the last few years here, we've gotten 3 different checks, right? For the most part, those 3 checks reached about 85% of the population. That was a huge percentage of the population that was reached. However, in history, we have seen highly focused checks going out to just the low income and fixed income beneficiaries, which would encompass at right now about what would it be? About 70 million beneficiaries, or about 21% of the population. So again, we could see that happen, and we've seen it previously in history as well. Highly focused stimulus checks just for the low income, the fixed income beneficiaries, the people I mentioned earlier in this video. So again, it's all going to be determined by how much does the economy need and what's up the sleeve of Congress. What does Congress agree to? Because at the end of the day, who's the one that makes a decision? Pretty much it's down to Congress, right? Unfortunately, it's up to a few hundred members of Congress, and then, of course, they send it off to the president where he just slaps his signature on it, and then it's a done deal, right? So it's pretty much just up to Congress. So again, it's going to be all predicated on what they see with the economy, what they determine as going to be kind of the next major fix for the economy, and what they would see going out to the people. So that'd be very important as well, right? Next, one of the main questions is, how quickly can they get it to us? That's a really good question. Let me lay this out here for you because, like I mentioned earlier in this video, the process of them sending out payments has actually been refined, and they're actually getting a lot faster at it. Let me lay the timeline out for you. All right, so way back in early 2020, when we got the first of the 3 stimulus checks over the last couple of years here, the $1,200, it was approved and signed into law on March 27th of 2020, okay? However, we didn't get our first payments until about April 15th. So it was about 2.5 weeks later after the package. By the way, it was called the CARES Act at the time, $2.3 trillion. That package, by the way, it took about 2.5 weeks from the time that the bill was signed into law until the first checks were starting to hit bank accounts on April 15th. And that was when the big first wave of payments started going out. So about 2.5 weeks, kind of a long time, right? And that was when the first wave went out. However, waves of checks were still going out, another week after that, weeks after that. So it took a long time. For some people, they didn't get their checks for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe even longer than that for a lot of people. So it was kind of a slow, clunky rollout the first time. However, the second check, the $600, remember that one? Late December 2020 is what it was. It was actually signed into law on December 28th. However, check this out. The next day, 24 hours later, there were already checks pending in accounts. Now, that was not for everybody, but there were some people already posting that there were checks being pending in their accounts already. So just 24 hours later. However, the vast majority of people did get their checks about a week or so later. In early January is when the first wave of payments went out on January 4th, okay? So is about a week later or so is when the first big wave went out, but a lot of people were starting to see them just 24 to 48 hours later after it was signed into law. So that was pretty fast for some weird reason for some people. Now next, let's talk about check number 3. This one was signed into law on March 11th, 2021. Now again, the first big wave of payments went out about 1 week later on March 17th, okay? The first big wave went out on March 17th. However, did that include all the fixed income and low income beneficiaries I mentioned at the beginning of this video? Unfortunately, it didn't. Actually, those fixed income beneficiaries, and again, probably most of you here in this community, waited until April 7th. Almost a month later. Why? What happened there? Well, that was the whole drama that went down where apparently the Social Security Administration didn't send over the files of all the millions of beneficiaries over to the IRS and the Treasury, therefore they could not process those payments. Do you remember all that? I was covering it in real time. We were digging deep. I was calling the IRS almost every day. I was calling Social Security. I was calling all around the place. I was trying to figure out answers. I was calling Direct Express, and virtually everybody at that time, remember, had those automated messages. We don't know. Stop calling us. Do you remember that? It was nuts at that time. We had no answers. And then all of a sudden, about 2 weeks after the first wave of checks went out, we finally got answers out of Social Security that suggested, oh, just kidding, we forgot to send over the files, and here they are. They should be sent out in a little while. So the big waves of payments ultimately went out in early April, which was April 7th, for the millions and millions of fixed income beneficiaries. So again, in these instances, now again, that last situation I want to point out, that shouldn't have happened. That was just a mistake, on a couple people's part. And again, that shouldn't have happened. But my point is the first big wave of payments went out on about a week later after the bill was signed into law. So long story short, I wanted to give you all these examples just to kind of show you. Long story short, they're getting better at all of this. When the bills get signed into law, generally, I would say within about 1 week, they can go from getting a bill signed into law by the president to having checks in accounts about 1 week after it is. However, at this point, is a bill signed? Nope. However, is a bill in Congress? At this time, no, it does not contain a stimulus check, any types of bills that are in Congress right now. But remember this much as well. Back in early 2020, when things were really getting, kind of crazy pretty fast there. Remember that? From the time that they worked up the CARES Act until they passed it in Congress and signed it by the president was a very, very short amount of time. Not even 2 weeks. It was very fast. In fact, it was about 10 days from the time that package was conceived of in Congress until it was passed through Congress and then signed by the president. It was fast, super fast, and then checks were in accounts just a couple weeks later. So in that type of situation, again, it could happen. These are the possibilities that could happen. So if Congress wants to get something done, remember this much. They can get things done relatively fast. However, they're not known for being fast at all. They're actually pretty slow, right? But remember this much. If they wanted to get something done quickly, they absolutely could do it 100%, no problem at all. So these are some examples. And again, in the event of another check being approved, we could get it within about 7 to 10 days or so after it would be signed into law. However, I want to make it very clear one more time. A bill is not in Congress that contains a stimulus check as of right now. A bill has not been signed into law, and its checks have not been approved as of right now. And again, I want to make that very clear so there's no misunderstanding. But again, I wanted to come back and answer these very common questions that I see all the time. Probably a couple hundred comments that I get every single week asking these questions, and I wanted to break it down for you here in this video. So again, if you have any other questions, concerns, or anything else like that, please make sure to subscribe and make sure to leave those comments, questions, and feedback down below. I do my best to read all the comments and to respond to as many as possible. And then, of course, when I see the same questions coming up time and time again, I will make dedicated videos just like this one as well. So again, I hope this one helps you. Until next time, please subscribe down below so you don't miss any videos going forward. I'm watching all this new information coming out of Congress, the administration, the lawmakers, and everything else out there that may impact the low income and fixed income. Also, anything in regards to money, benefits, raises to benefits, checks, ongoing checks, monthly checks, anything else like that. Of course, I want to bring it to your attention. There's a lot of different things that are happening. There's more going on out there right now than just this when it comes to the low income and fixed income. And again, that's why I want to keep you posted. So again, I hope this one helps you. Subscribe down below, share the video with your friends, family, social media, and go back and check out any of the other thousands and thousands of videos here on the channel. Until next time, have a good one, enjoy your day, and I'll catch you again later.